All right, so today I had the opportunity to interview Blake Fenn, who is an account manager of membership retention at Hard Rock Stadium. We had a great conversation that covered a wide range of topics, including Blake's journey from growing up in Alabama to then going to college at Baylor University and subsequently going to work in Miami, the 305, for the Dolphins in Hard Rock Stadium. He also talks about how he uses objection to improve each and every day as a salesperson, which is a fantastic mentality to have, and it's why Blake is such a great salesperson. So he expands on that in this interview as well. I hope y'all get a lot of value out of this, and I hope that you enjoy watching this interview as much as we did making it. Without further ado, here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we're rolling. We're back with another interview here on the air with Brian Gregoire, part of the interview series. This week, I've got Blake Fenn, who is an account manager for membership retention at Hard Rock Stadium. He's an alumnus of Baylor University, but he grew up outside of Birmingham, Alabama. And so we'll touch on that connection during the course of this interview. But Blake, it's great to have you on here.
Yeah, Brian, this is great. Is awesome when you invited me on the show. I was fired up. Definitely watch your clips from previous episodes, and to be back here after us connecting for the first time last summer, seeing your successes and jumping on the pod here with the series is exciting for me. So excited to dive in a little bit more here on your channel.
No, I'm glad to have you on. I'm looking to have somebody from the 305 that works in the 305 on here. I love Miami, one of my favorite cities in the world to visit. Love Miami. And you will see too, now that you've been on this series, this interview series has an uncanny knack of like anybody who comes on, when they'll run into people and they'll be like, "Hey, I saw you in an interview recently." That's
Yeah.
happened to a few people. They'll bring that up to me. And I'm like, "Hey, I didn't know that. I'm like unintentionally making people famous on here now, but like that could very well happen to you, Blake. So now that you've been on here, the name will start to get out there, and the stock is going to really start to rise. So I just want to give you that disclaimer before it happens.
Oh no, I appreciate it. I feel like we're still early in on it. Your channel's been blowing up month over month now. Gosh, I don't remember if it's been a year or whatnot, but I'm excited to see you keep growing it, and the rest will be history at that point. You're gonna be the famous one. I'm gonna be asking for your autograph.
We're trying. We're trying to ascend here. I think we're making really good progress, but it's all about staying true to the grind and getting 1% better every day on here, just like you
Absolutely.
are at Hard Rock Stadium. So, cheers to that, and let's dive into this thing.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So, first things first, the question that everybody's always going to ask: how'd you get your job with the Dolphins in Hard Rock Stadium? What did that process look like?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. I think for me, specifically with the Dolphins one, has a little bit more of a backstory to it rather than other candidates, other people, how they land their first jobs. So just kind of fill in with some context here. Like you mentioned, I am a Baylor alumnus from back in May of 2023. So sick and bears, anybody's watching this. But I went through our Baylor S3 program. It's sports strategy and sales. So I did a specific concentration on our sales side, specifically in sports and ticket sales slash corporate partnership. So it all started back in my junior year of college. My first ever 20-minute role play that we had to do with one of our execs around the country. And so we're going through picking whoever, and I was like, oh, the Washington Commanders. And it was Sam Barlow at the time who was their inside sales manager there. And I was like, heck, this will be a great opportunity. Down the road, definitely will be in the NFL, but might as well reach out, meet somebody new, not like maybe the Spurs, the Cowboys, and other stars, other teams from Texas, and branch out a little bit. So for me, it all started there. It definitely didn't go as well. If I looked back, I'd probably wouldn't be hiding looking at that first role play I had, but got to start somewhere, right, in this industry. So from there, kind of hit it off with Sam. He's been one of my mentors to this day in the industry, and ultimately ended up landing an internship in ticket sales and service with the Washington Commanders that summer, going into my senior year. Maintained a great relationship with him, the Commanders. So many friends still up there, and I love their organization. But what brought me really here to Miami, Brian, was funny when I was looking at it. From afar, the Washington had just kind of cleared house, had a lot new leadership, within their organization. And that's something down the road I aspire to be in shoes like that. And I thought it was very interesting with the trend there of their chief ticketing officer through a few of their other VPs and directors and managers actually all came from Miami Dolphins. So I was kind of like, what are they doing, right? I mean, up in Washington, they could be picking from various sports, other leagues, other NFL teams. Why specifically the Miami Dolphins? So took a little bit deeper dive in. Thankfully, had a previous graduate the year before me, Jordan Schmaltz, just graduate from there and was a sales development representative, is what we call it, rather than inside sales with Dolphins. Kind of picked his brain a little bit, learned about the Dolphins, and for me, it kind of just made too much sense to move down here, learn from, in my opinion, some of the best in the business now being here. And not only we have football, the opportunity to learn a little bit about Formula One racing, Miami Open tennis, and the countless other events we have. To me, it was a no-brainer. So got plugged into the interview process, and for me, I was all in on Miami at that point, and thankfully landed the job, and have kind of moved up from our sales development program up to our membership services department now, in membership retention at this point. So kind of a lot there with the background context, but it's great, and I couldn't be more ecstatic to be here with Miami and almost 2 years now. It's crazy.
Well, it's really cool how you noticed that trend of so many people in Washington coming from the Dolphins. And you that wasn't anybody else. That was you using your own mind and saying, "Hey, like there's a trend here. Like they're trickling from Miami to Washington. Why is this? It's because of the elite development that takes place in Miami, and we see the same thing take place with legends and the Cowboys. I mean, a lot of people who have been very successful at other organizations and projects come from, exactly where I'm at right now too. And so,
Absolutely.
it's the same thing in Miami. I've got, I've got a lot of respect for what y'all have down there, and at our age, Blake, it's all about development because we're
Absolutely.
in our early mid 20s, so we're not seasoned yet. We're still very much in that developmental stage. So it's where can we go where iron is going to sharpen iron,
Nailed
and
it.
there's no better place to do that than with the Miami Dolphins. And don't y'all have the names are coming to me. There's an acronym. It's like NSC something something. But at Baylor, y'all host the sports sales competition up in Atlanta, right?
Correct. Yeah, if I said it right, it's the National Collegiate Sports Sales Championship. So NCSSC, I believe, if I just said that right.
Yeah.
It's a neat partnership we had there. Of course, now we had a partnerships division, ticket sales. Now we've gone into analytics, but Baylor partnering with the Atlanta Hawks was neat, and actually was able to take advantage and go to that event my senior year as well. It's definitely blown up, and a great event for those young college students or anybody looking to get in the sports industry. It's a great way to start and meet some of those executives and sales leaders here in the industry up in Atlanta, typically in the February timeframe.
Oh, it's a huge way to get ahead. I mean, I kept on hearing about it when I was at Alabama. I never did it myself. I mean, I have a great job now, but
Yeah,
I somewhat
absolutely.
regret it because I'm like, it would have been a cool opportunity, or would have been able to meet a lot of people. But like for just what you're saying, for those that are in college right now, I would encourage that because it's those events that can very much shift the paradigm in your trajectory within the industry. So,
Absolutely.
and it's really cool that Baylor puts that on. I mean, y'all are really trailblazers for that.
Yeah, we try to be. That's one of the reasons I picked Baylor. I came from a Baylor family, but the strong sports program dating back to like 2000. I mean, for me, it was a no-brainer with the inspiration to want to get into this industry one day, and started off strong. Hopefully, we'll continue it like me and yourself, and here for the next few decades.
Hell yeah, hell yeah! Cheers to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, next question I have here, because you sell for both Hard Rock Stadium and F1. So, how do you balance out these third party events and your main sales responsibilities? Because I'm sure there's got to be a ranking of priorities there.
Yeah, it's always interesting the way we put it. I mean, we say, quote, priorities, but they really do shift, not even on a week to week basis, but a day to day basis, Brian. Like we got it down to a T in our weekly meetings as, hey, what should we be working on, focused on every day, right? But at the end of the day, right, we're both professionals. Like you can choose how you organize your day and structure it, and make sure what is important needs to get done. But I think what's interesting with at least our structure on our end is we have the Dolphins football season, as everybody knows, right? It's August to typically December, if not hopefully late into January, early February, making a run. But in the spring is when we have the Miami Open tennis tournament actually happening this upcoming week here in Miami, and then first week of May is the Formula One race. So in terms of our priorities, that typically shift a lot of time right after the off season, then into the summer, during like quote not really football season when football's being played is a lot of our priorities is football, and then on the football season and whatnot, we're really putting a lot of emphasis onto really heavily into Formula One because, right, we're preparing for that event, right? You got to be ahead. You can't just plan right before. So the earlier months we can get ahead, thankfully, right now for ticket sales, we're in a great spot for the Dolphins and likewise with the race. So the earlier we can keep preparing and staying ahead, it puts us in a great position. But I mean, every day I can be picking up the phone, Brian. I know at least yesterday I went today, but I'm talking to somebody about the tennis tournament coming up. Then it's gonna be the concert this summer, Morgan Wallen, Dolphins parking questions, or you name it. So there's definitely always when you think you know what's going on or how your day is going to go, you got to be ready to shift in your gears or how the conversation will go. So definitely always keeps me on my toes.
Oh, you've always got to be ready to pivot, and when you've got that many third party events going on, F1, Miami Open, the Dolphins, of course, Hard Rock Stadium selling that. Like there's so many different avenues that you can be going, and so like there's always opportunities there, and I kind of touch on what you said there too about it's never too early to start preparing for a season, and you kind of lay down the foundation before F1 comes around, before the Dolphin season comes around, so that when it comes, those prospects are ready to be called on, and you're ready to convert those introductory conversations into sales.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, it's that's awesome. You'll have that much to sell there. I'm sure it's a lot of fun. But with all of that, I'm sure y'all are ripping sales and generating amazing numbers. But just like in any sales job, there's got to be objection at times, and times where you'll have clients that question you why this, why that. When you face objection, how do you handle it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
before that
phenomenal,
one.
but that's a phenomenal. Yeah, no, let me drink water real quick for that one. But no objection. That's a great question. So I think for me specifically on my retention team, right? So a lot of the accounts that I deal with on a day-to-day basis are those that we're doing existing work in relationships with. They just haven't yet renewed the account. So a lot of the times the calls that I'm specifically going into are dealing with these objections, like, hey, why have we not renewed the account? What do we need to do? How do we better your experience? Like what am I missing here to make sure that we can have you back out and have a great time, make better memories? So for me, something that I like to live on and I preach, right? Any objection for me, I turn the O from objection to opportunity. So, right, anytime you're on a call, if nobody has, it's all butterflies and rainbows and renewing, it's great, but maybe they could do something better, afford an upgrade. But if there's objection, there's a real reason for me to dive a little bit deeper, learn a lot more about your experiences, what went right, what went wrong, and what are you really looking for, Brian? So, I think for me, that's the neat thing about objections, where a lot of people I feel like put them in a negative light. But for me, if you put them in a positive light, that not only helps you learn more, but that cultivates a deeper relationship with the customer. And obviously, if you're able to hear them out, pivot toward a better recommendation or how we can make a better experience, in the long run, then they renew, they come back out, we provide and we nail exactly what we were supposed to do. Those renewals and those accounts come back, ultimately building better trust with them. So, obviously, it's always an opportunity with objection. Yes, they may not agree with something, but it's always an opportunity to be better as a business and to learn more about our clients.
Well, like you said, when you face objection, you're not really seeing eye to eye with a client. When you take that extra effort to meet them where they are, find out what isn't working, and formulate a solution. They're going to view you in a different light, and so the rapport just automatically builds, and you learn something about yourself and your product, how you can improve, how the product can improve, and it's just an opportunity for growth all around. You nailed it. Like there's nothing negative about objection.
Mhm.
It's essentially a growing pain that's used to develop and improve. And so, the fact that you view it like that, it shows why you're a successful salesperson.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of things I feel like not even just obviously renewing tickets and in the sports industry business. I think it's just a lesson on life. Like a lot of the challenges or things we face every day. Like not everything's gonna be great. It's the framework and mindset we put that into is obviously we got to keep moving forward, getting better, and obviously, family, friends, relationships, those are off the court. I'd put it at ours. We're not out there selling, but are just as important and relevant stories and lessons you can learn from, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And but part of your position, like you mentioned in your title, is membership retention. That's something that you specialize in, and relationships are everything when it comes to that. Rapport is everything when it comes to that. Um, what are some of your own methods that are unique to you that you use when it comes to retaining memberships of the Dolphins?
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. I think for me specifically with the Dolphins and my retention strategies, I don't know if I could categorize it in one manner, but kind of the way I go about these calls or, facing these objections, what it is. I think for me a lot of the time, right, they always tell us, right, we got two ears and one mouth. And so, when I'm here listening to a client and a lot of times on these renewal calls, I'm more here to hear about their experience. I'm not just trying to, pitch and talk over the phone and I'm just like talking out loud and hopefully they buy, right? No, my goal is to learn a lot more about them and their experiences. So for me, it's a lot about getting them to talk and me sitting back. And even at times if they expand a lot on what's going on, maybe I may be confused, whatnot. I always like to say, tell me more. Just very short sentence, but it gets somebody else to open up and tell you a lot more about their experience. And sometimes you would have never gotten it if you're asking these short-ended questions or something that's very specific. It's a little bit broader to where, if it's off, maybe they tell you a little bit more and put it a little more simply into terms to where when I turn it back around to them, I can really figure out their pain points and what they're looking to do when they're coming out. So that would definitely be one thing. I think one that I learned a lot this year, my first full campaign on retention that I like using is I'm on the phone with some of these people and I really like to kind of exaggerate. Like if they came back another year or look at upgrading, I'm like, Brian, tell me, I mean, this may be a crazy idea, but, and then I fill in the sentence, right? Like I'm setting these expectations like, oh, what the heck's he about to say? Or like, coming back another year, but like, then it's not a crazy idea. It's very simple. They're like, really, it's not that's not a crazy idea. And you're like, all right, let's talk about it. What can we do here? So that's kind of a specific strategy I like to use often and definitely works, but always learning from others within, especially, Miami Dolphins and Hard Rock Stadium, those above me and their experiences, what can work. But, developing the craft, those are a few things I've found successful that I enjoy doing on a day-to-day basis with my retention role.
It's interesting. You kind of play a little mental game in there, kind of got like leading them in. I've got something crazy here to pitch, and then it's like retention. It's like if I was on the phone, I would definitely take my the phone off the ear and be like, hmm, interesting. But
Yeah,
it lures them in. It lures them in, and
exactly.
that's how you do it. And then just asking those simple questions. It's like literally something as simplistic as "tell me more" can get somebody to open it. And there's nothing, there's no rocket science to it. It's a very simple question, but it can get you so much more information just by simply asking it and then sitting back and absorbing what they have to say.
Exactly. Yeah. And even these small sentences and the way you go about it, like I said, I'm really wanting you as the client to expand, but and it always goes back to I probably preach it. I know probably legends like pace, tone, and volume. Obviously, there's not a lot of pace with the short sentences here, but really an emphasis on that tone and sounding like you're inquisitive on what they have to say. So that's definitely a huge role when you're having these conversations.
Oh, it definitely is when it comes to keeping that cadence.
Yep.
Now, you're from around Birmingham.
Yep.
You went to Baylor. Disappointed you didn't go to Bama, but Baylor, I can forgive you because Baylor's
Yeah.
a great school. But then you went from Baylor to Miami,
Right.
and so those are not as much Alabama and Texas, but Alabama, Texas, and Miami. There's a cultural difference there.
Mhm.
Now, how did you go about adjusting to that, especially in your first year with the Dolphins?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, similarly with the jump I had from going, kid in Birmingham, Alabama, going to Baylor, there's not a lot of, it's not a state school. So a lot of people come from different places. With that being said, kind of barely knew my roommate through a mutual friend. So you got to go out there and meet new people. So that was the first time I had to really put myself out there. And I love the people in Texas. I know you now do too, now being there. But for me, that was something I didn't realize looking back was kind of my first step in helping me get ready for my future moves down the road. And likewise from Baylor, and then my internship for 10 weeks going up to Washington, meeting people there, kind of going out on a limb to challenge myself and grow, I think made the transition for me very easy going to Miami. And ultimately, when I got the role, and before I accepted it, I was kind of like, this was a no-brainer. Like I didn't have any hesitancy or what it was. Like I was like, these are the people I want to work for. This is where I want to get in my career, and this is going to be the place to do it. And so, Lord willing, whatever it is, trusting in the Lord for me, faith is very big. And so knowing that this is the right spot, I trust in him, I'm going to go and everything will be as it is. And it's definitely worked out thus far and enjoying it. I think for me, going out and the adjustment specifically here, especially in Miami, a lot of us aren't really from here. So it actually was a lot easier, specifically on our sales team and meeting other people, that we have a lot of people from a lot of different places across the country. And so meeting new people have been in my position before, especially in our sales development program. And so they're very open to sharing. And obviously we have a lot of similarities and working same schedules in sports. So being able to meet friends around the same age and work colleagues has been really great. But ultimately, those two moves that I had, moving out of state to Baylor and then going out trying my internship in Washington for 10 weeks, really set me up and had a lot of confidence going into my move to Miami, and it's been great.
Well, y'all are all in that, like you said, y'all are all on the same season of life, and that really helps both Baylor and Miami because, like you're saying, it's not a state school, so you're gonna get people from all over the place that go to
Yeah.
Baylor, and then the same with Miami, you get people from all over the place living there at your age.
Yeah.
So you're just on level ground with people. It makes it easier to relate to them, and just getting out of your comfort zone. I mean, it's so important, taking that leap of faith and trusting in God because, like you, I'm a person of faith. I believe in God and the vision He has for me and the path He has carved out for me. And so if He tells me to go somewhere, I don't question it. I go. I surrender my control. Trust that all will be well. And you know, as long as you have God's guidance, that leap of faith will turn into success.
Yeah.
And it does
Makes it
every
a lot
time.
easier.
You just have to trust the path that's there because God has made it. You just have to walk down it, trust that everything is going to be okay, and through that trust, it always is.
Right.
And you've seen it now in multiple transitions.
Absolutely nailed it. I mean, the trust, put your trust in the Lord and everything else will come back to you. So it's definitely a guiding point for me in my career so early on. And no, it'll be a foundation for me moving forward with, hopefully a long-term career here in Miami, but potentially anything else that could come out down the road.
Oh yeah, that's the foundation, and that was necessary experience for you, building trust in yourself, building trust in God. Like you've gone through that experience early enough to where you're gonna be well prepared for anything that comes your way down the line. Um, Now, one final question here, and then this is what I always like to end all my interviews off with. If you have one piece of advice for college students or anybody in general that aspires to enter the sports industry and succeed within it, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Brian, and one I always wanted to know when I was in college, and still asking those that are above me and what they would learn. I think for me, where I'm at right now, Brian kind of alludes to a little bit with what I mentioned there, second with my moves to Baylor and then DC and then down here in Miami, which is for me, it's a lot of opportunities. Like get used to saying yes. I'm very big on while we're young, like especially in sports, take advantage of every opportunity you can. For me, it was not only like doing a random partnerships gig at Baylor, but then also, going on a limb to do the ticket sales role with Washington, like continually saying yes, these opportunities, you never know who you're going to meet when, and where those people are at. And obviously, if you go through an experience, which for me, that partnerships thing, role in college, I realized that wasn't for me at first and led me to realize ticket sales is the way I want to start my career. So as many ways you can volunteer, get plugged in specifically in the sports industry early on. I think one will help you meet and build these better relationships for those in sports. But two, it's going to give you a better knowledge and foundation as to what you really want to do and what you're passionate about. And for me, I obviously found that through ticket sales. So the more people you can meet, like I said, we're a small industry. I know I've learned it in the 2 years I have. Brian, I know you have as well. Like cultivating these relationships and leaning into those is definitely huge because, sports really is small and the way we come together with the same passion, I think is huge. So continue to say yes to a lot of opportunities because ultimately they're all an opportunity to learn. Even if you fail, it's something you can learn from and grow. And at our young age, that is something I lean heavily into. So, and down the line, we have these experiences we can look back to and ultimately make better decisions and be more efficient in the way we're doing our day to day.
I love that. Just say yes.
Yep, this is a
At
good
our age,
question.
it's important to just say yes to those opportunities that come our way because you never know what path is going to lead us down. Like we alluded to earlier, often God is behind that plan, and so you just got to say yes to the opportunities that come your way because we're young. It's the best thing that we can do is absorb more knowledge and gain more experience. So, those 4 years when you're in college, it's very true. They are the best years of your life, but it's also a time where you have more learning opportunities in front of you than ever. And so, just saying yes and getting out of your comfort zone, couldn't have said it better yourself. So I appreciate you placing an emphasis on that, Blake.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to get back, and hopefully some people can take that with them and utilize it. So
Yes, sir. Listen to us, everybody watching.
yeah,
We've done this thing before. We've been there and done that. So, listen to us and just say yes. You're not going to regret it.
absolutely.
Well, thanks for coming on, Blake. This was awesome. Just great chat we had on here. I hope that everybody watching got a lot of value out of it. And so I hope that you continue to excel down in the 305, Blake.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. Again, thank you so much, man. This has been really fun being on the other side of the camera rather than watching it from my phone and laptop on your show. And I obviously love seeing your success so far a year into Legends. And I just look forward to growing together, both of us in this industry, and seeing where the sky's the limit for us.
Thank you, sir. Cheers to that. We're both growing and getting 1% better every day. So you gotta love that. And thank you all for watching. Have a great day.